just as I predicted, Adrian Newey to Aston Martin. I didn't predict that. I will tell you. Hi guys, Freddie B here. Welcome to Freddie BZ Pathetic Picks for F1 as we get to Azerbaijan. In BAcu, Azerbaijan, a street course, a great course, the next stop on the Formula One calendar. I will tell you, I saw it, but I didn't see it. Although I did predict it maybe after I got a lot of everybody else's predictions, and Adrian Newey going to Aston Martin makes complete sense to me, and I think it's going to be my new favorite team. I do not know. I'm not sure, but I will tell you this. I would not be surprised if this doesn't put a big jolt into them even in 2025, just knowing that they have him as he works on the 2026 car. But they have put the pieces in place at Aston Martin to become one of the world beaters, to become one of the top 3 teams in Formula One. They certainly are spending enough money to do it. As we head to BAcu, it's going to be an interesting and fun weekend this weekend. Hi, again, Freddie B here for Pathetic Picks for Azerbaijan. Pardon my voice and my appearance. I had my teeth pulled yesterday, and that is no fun. And so I'm doing this in a lot of pain, but that's okay. Anyway, BAcu, 6.009 kilometers, which is 3.73 miles. Through a street course, there's one turn I hate, which is coming out of section 1. There's a tough left-hander, but it's basically single file. And to my way of thinking, a street course should always at least have the ability for somebody to pass everywhere. And just getting into that one tight corner in Azerbaijan, if one car wrecks, it could pile up the entire field if it happens at the front. They haven't done it anyway. Anyway, Checo owns this race, and I will be rooting for him for several reasons. But this is a racetrack in which he does extremely well on. He has got 5 podiums there and 2 wins, more than any other driver in the field. So if there ever was a place for him to do well and to prove that he still deserves to have that Red Bull ride, this is it. And hopefully take some of the pressure off of him. I truly believe that the pressure's on him so much, not unlike Logan Sargent where the pressure's on, that it's hurting his performance. Now, even though the RB20 may not be the car that everybody thinks it is, it's still a very formidable car, and in the right hands, obviously with Max, it's a car that's very capable of winning poles and winning races. And I think Checo could have a good weekend this time. You know, I'm reminded back in the days when I enjoyed NASCAR, Kyle Petty was a driver who liked his car set up a certain way. And it was almost the polar opposite from the way most people drove their cars. And if you put him in a car that was not set up as a front steer car, I believe is what they called it back then, he just didn't do well. So they had to buy chassis, and they got them from BAcu Matthews back then, that were front steer cars, and that helped him win several races. And he had tracks that he was dominant on too. I remember Rockingham, which NASCAR's going back to next year, was one of his dominant tracks. Nonetheless, let's get back to F1, because NASCAR has almost destroyed itself with the way they're running races. Hopefully Formula One will take a look at what NASCAR is doing and not do that. I love the fact that F1 has a 3-hour window to get 2 hours of racing in. If it's done, it's done. If it's not, we're going to throw the flag and go on to the next spot. I know people maybe not like that, but what would you rather like? Spend $200-300 for a ticket for a 1 o'clock start, have it rain, it rains all night, and it goes to 9 o'clock, and then it rains again, and then you are getting home at somewhere around 5 a.m. I mean, that cannot be pleasant, and I have done that too many times in NASCAR to say that I like doing it. As I get older, too, it's no fun. So, Newey goes to Aston Martin. It's a new day there. I'm going to get some green clothing, apparently. Fernando Alonso is going to stay. He's got to be ecstatic. Lance Stroll's got to be looking over his shoulder because Newey gets a piece of the team, and he's not going to hold back. And I'm pretty sure he's going to say, hey, Daddy Stroll, your kid's not the guy for the car. But we'll see how much pull that has. So who do they go after? Well, they go after Max Verstappen. You know, if Max loses the World Championship this year because McLaren's 2 cars have taken the constructors and Lando Norris catches and passes him, then I think Max has got a clause in his contract that says, I'm out of here. So I'm pretty sure Lance Stroll would probably move aside and have a very good salary and title with the team if it was Alonso and Max. That would be a super team, and it sure would come out of left field, wouldn't it? Anyway, that is my thoughts on Adrian Newey. So, is this going to be Checo's last race? No, I don't think so. But he's got to do well in this race, Singapore, Austin, and Mexico, if he wants to, quote, salvage a Formula One career that, quite frankly, is pretty damn good. He's better than most people, and he's probably a better driver than most. But because of the intense pressure that is being put on him, not so much by being put on him by Helmut Marko, it's hurting him, and it's hurting his future. I think he's going to do very well in Baku. I hope he outqualifies Max, and I hope he gets a podium. I think that would be great for Checo. So, for one of my pathetic picks, I'm going to say Checo's going to get a podium. And I'll clarify that in a minute, too, with who else I think is going to be there. But Checo's definitely got to have a good race. McLaren is bringing tons of momentum into this race. By the way, the last winners was Checo, and then Max, and I think Charles Leclerc. So you've got teams and cars, especially with Ferrari, especially with Mercedes' newfound strength, Red Bull and McLaren. This could be a really, really good race. And then maybe Alonso has a great race too, because they're so ecstatic that Adrian Newey is coming there, that they put on the extra effort. As for the back markers, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing. They still have not filled the second stake Audi Sauber ride as of this filming. They're looking at several people. I think the answer could be 2 people. It could be Valtteri Bottas. I think he deserves a shot. He's a 10-race winner, been with Mercedes. I'm going to say it again. Would be a great person to put with Hulk. Those two have a lot of combined experience. Obviously, Hulkenberg doesn't have the podiums that Bottas has, but he's a good driver. We've proven that in equipment that doesn't go very fast. He still does great. Put him in, that'd be a great way to set this team up for the first 2 years. The other person might be Checo. Checo may lose this job. I don't know who's going to come in. I'm pretty sure Liam Lawson is going to come in to the 4 drivers running in the 2 Red Bull teams. Max is staying. Daniel Ricciardo could lose his job. Checo could lose his job. Yuki Tsunoda is there. Liam Lawson will be driving a Red Bull next year, whether it be in the V-Carb Red Bull or the big team, we don't know. And we don't know whether Daniel Ricciardo is going to be the one losing his job, or is it going to be Liam Lawson. Now, if Ricciardo wants to stay in F1, super popular, really great guy, and a race winner also, maybe Sauber looks at him also. So, not picking your driver right now. If I am Sauber, I might just hold back. I might just see how things play out for the next 5 races. And there is no pressure on me to name a driver just because every other team has. I want to see what happens at Red Bull first before I name my driver. There's 1 seat left. We know that Liam Lawson, for the most part, is going to get that Red Bull seat somewhere. So while you may have a question mark around Red Bull, pretty much Liam Lawson's going to get that. Or if they don't get it, maybe he goes to kick Sauber Audi. Who knows? We will see. But there's pretty sure there's only 1 seat left, and there's at least 4 or 5, plus a couple of Formula 2, Formula 3 guys, and guys in the Sauber Academy that might merit a drive. I would also caution them this. I think, looking at Nick DeVries from last year, Logan Sargent this year, that if you put a driver in a car too soon, then you are hurting both yourself and the future of that driver. It reminds me of, those of you that in Europe, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. used to have John Gruden as their coach, and John Gruden would go through really talented quarterbacks because he would put them as starters too soon. And they would either ruin arms, get injured, not have an offensive line that would block for them or something, but they just would have a terrible time, and then their careers would be over. Sean King comes to mind, who was a great quarterback. Formula One, with only 10 teams, 20 drivers, you had to be very careful. And every driver will say they're ready, but boy, if you gave them an opportunity, let's say if you had 20 cars, or if you had 30 cars in Formula One, you'd have a lot more untalented drivers in there who are paying to be there. But since you only got 20, and it's such a coveted spot, you got to be very careful. So, who's going to be my picks for BAcu this weekend? Great question. Freddie B is going to give you the answer right now. I think that you will see the fight for pole will be huge, and it will be between McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull. And I would say right now, not knowing any better, McLaren's the #1 team, Red Bull's 2. They haven't really lost, given me any reason to think that they have been surpassed by Ferrari. I think Ferrari's 3, and then Mercedes 4, and I think now you can say Aston Martin's going to be 5. I think Alonso may have a really good, he'll get to Q3. I think that'll be great. I think one of the Red Bull V-Carb cars will get to Q3, and I also think Hulkenberg in the Haas will get to Q3. But I think the pole's going to come down to Piastri, Norris, and maybe Leclerc. I don't think Red Bull's going to get the pole because maybe the RB20 isn't as good, and as good as Max is, I don't think he will. But if he does, that'll be great if he gets in the top 3. So I'm going to say that maybe you got Piastri at the pole, Leclerc 2nd, and maybe Lando Norris 3rd, and then maybe Hamilton, and then Sainz, and then maybe Max Verstappen. Now, and then Checo. That's just the way you got to see it. My thoughts are, though, that the winner, and this is going to be a strategic race, could very well be Oscar Piastri first, Charles Leclerc 2nd, and Checo 3rd, followed closely by Hamilton, Russell, and Verstappen. So there you have it. Freddie B's pathetic picks for Azerbaijan and the BAcu Grand Prix this year. I apologize, this is late. I ran out of didn't run out of internet. My internet's down at home, so I got to find a place to upload the video. But I will be doing that shortly. So until next week, ta-ta for now.